Okay, but everybody, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I've got 4:01. We may have some stragglers still joining. But anyway, thanks for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Bill Hilton, and I will be the moderator for today's webinar. Today, we're presenting NuTrax for wine, end-to-end visibility, grape to glass functionality. Little housekeeping items before we get started. We are going to have time for questions at the end. So if while we're going through the presentation today, you've got a question, you can just use your chat session, which is on the right-hand side there, and open up your chat and type your question in there. And at the end of the session, we'll go through all the questions and try and get those answered. So let's go ahead and get started here. We're going to start with the safe harbor. My guess is most of you have seen this, shouldn't be a surprise, but it's a reminder that this presentation contains forward-looking statements on our software and functionality and are subject to risk and uncertainty. So certainly be aware of that. Regarding the agenda, it's going to be it's a pretty short webinar. We're hoping to keep it to about 35 minutes before the Q&A session. But at the beginning, we're going to give a pretty brief overview of just New Virgin Next World. Not going to spend a lot of time on that. Certainly the meat of the webinar is going to be focused on our NuTrax for Wine product. But as a heads up, if anybody is interested in learning more about Next World, their no-code platform or their ERP products, we do have a video on our website of a prior webinar that we gave that you're certainly welcome to watch. And you'll find that, again, on our website inside the Insights video section. So you should be able to find it there. Now, let me go ahead and turn it over to Jeff Amron, who is Senior Vice President of Development. Jeff?
Thanks, Bill. We're joined today by Mark Ellie out of Australia, New Zealand area. Patrick Barber is also on the phone, part of our product strategy. He's actually out of the UK now. And we have Lubomir Popovic, winemaker consultant that is part of our extended development team out of the Niagara Falls, Canada, Toronto area. So we're very excited to have all of us here today, and we'll take you through the webinar. So first and foremost, I want to start with what are the main wine industry issues? Obviously, you can't boil it down to just three things, but I did want to talk about three things we're going to talk about today around what's the difference between what we're building and what's already out there. And what it boils down to is that a lot of companies do have a lot of differentiation, or they have uniqueness that makes them special. Everybody thinks they're special, but there actually is true special things that some companies want to do, and they can't do it through the software. So how do I future-proof while at the same time meeting those differentiations for your company? We're going to discuss what the difference is between this product and others that are out there. Our team needs to also be able to work remotely, right? You need to be able to work anywhere, anytime. You might be disconnected. You might have a poor connection even. We want to be very clear that we can actually connect at any time, or how do we, make sure that, ultimately the connection, if it is lost, how do we make up for that? Stateless design. We'll talk about the stateless infrastructure here. The last question here, or statement, is the effort to maintain my current system is very high. We hear that from a lot of our customers already. They're spending a lot of money just keeping the lights on, just maintaining their existing systems, whether it be the ERP system, their grower and blend systems. All those systems have cost them money, and they're aging, and they can't even change them dynamically. They have no control. So how do I also minimize my software costs and integration costs going forward? Alrighty. I'm going to fix my mic here real quick, guys. All right. So first off, what NuVerge is, again, as Bill mentioned, we have an entire webinar that introduces more around our history with Nextworld and the company as a whole. But I want to bring your attention to the two main boxes in the right-hand corner of the screen here. And that is the NuTrax Industry Solutions. We have 6 already in development. We're going to be talking about the specific ones around the wine industry today and agriculture. But we're also one of the top performing resellers of the Nextworld product. So as a partner, we partner very closely with Nextworld. And so if you're more interested in a lot of it, just the Nextworld technologies, we can also take you through that again in other webinars. Our NuVerge culture is very important. Ultimately, we realize that when you're buying a product and when you're getting services from the company, it's not just about what you're buying, but about who you're buying it from. What kind of team are they? What do they do to make sure their employees are happy? How do we embrace and drive change together? How, are we going to be passionate about what not only we're building, but also how we support the customers? And lastly, that last item there is a personal favorite for a lot of us here is we want to have fun. Ultimately, we don't want to just be building software, but we want to have fun. And I think you'll hear that in some of what you're going to hear today is about how excited the team gets ultimately when they solve a problem, when they solve the solution issue. And we're going to share some of that with you. So again, a quick recap of what Nextworld is all about from an ERP standpoint. Ultimately, it is about the platform. And the reason why the platform is so important is because it abstracts from the rest of the technology layer. Personally, I came from a more technical background. I was a CNC in the JD space before originally, and I did a lot of the technology layers, DBA work, all that. And the irony is that that all needs to go away from a company standpoint, from a customer standpoint. They shouldn't have to worry about whether or not the database is a certain technology. They shouldn't have to worry about whether or not they have the right tools for the future. So ultimately, the Nextbot platform has been designed in such a way that allows your application to sit at a layer that can be abstracted. That means that in the future, we can change the database, we can change the technology layer, and your application will still be running. And that's the difference between what used to be, right, with your client server technology and cloud technology to a true platform. And we're going to talk through that in a bit. Nextworld has a lot of different options already available. This is just a quick map, and this doesn't even take it as deep as it really goes. As you guys get a view of what Nextworld's already built on the Nextbot platform, you get a feel from it from a financial, sales, supply chain, manufacturing, procurement. But I want to bring your attention to the big orange box on the right-hand side of the screen. Ultimately, that's where we're going to concentrate today. But the underlying layer there, the Nextworld platform, comes with our NuTrax product. You're going to get all of those features and functionality that fit with the Nextbot platform along with NuTrax. And we're going to talk about how we package that later on in the slide deck. But ultimately, there's a lot of things being built there, but bring your attention to that one box there for right now. Ultimately, why is this Nextbot platform so different? Why did I personally pick this platform to build the latest beverage and other NuTrax products on? And the reason why is because of all of these different items here. These are unique in a lot of ways. Sustainable customization, first off. Sustainable ultimately means that your customizations are no longer a naughty word, right? The customizations that usually put fear into those in the ERP space in particular, because they realize that comes with cost and maintenance over time, right? Which ultimately means you don't want to do it. In fact, there was a whole, segment around how to go vanilla. How do we not customize? Well, now we're enabling that again with sustainable customization. We'll talk a little bit about that. Seamless integration. Seamless meaning that we can ultimately do point-to-point integrations without a heavy lifted middleware tier. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to eliminate the middleware tier completely, but you may not require it as much. We may be able to go point-to-point more often and really eliminate your costs over time. Automated testing is baked right into the platform. In most technology layers, your automated testing is a separate tool. It's separate from the actual tool, the actual application itself. This is baked into the product and is being made available through the Nextbot platform. Automated updates, zero downtime updates are coming also with the SaaS-based application. So you no longer have to worry about the word upgrade. It is going to happen on a regular cycle. And because it's abstracted from the actual application tier, most of your application will run just fine. It doesn't mean we stop doing testing. It doesn't mean that we don't test and validate, but it means that we're now minimizing the effort that goes into that. Access anywhere, we kind of talked about that before, is you need to be able to get this, and it's fully mobile right out of the box. Nextbot is mobile enabled. Ultimately, future-proofing your choice here. So that is the Nextworld platform. We'll move on to the actual NuTrax. So what is NuTrax? NuTrax is transformational application extensions at its core. It started from a track and trace naming convention, but quickly we saw that it really was much bigger. Ultimately, if you had to boil it down to one statement, what is NuTrax about? It's about what ERP traditionally can't be. And that means it can't be everything to everybody. We don't expect it to be, right? We want it to be generic enough that we can apply our business to it, but then we want to tailor it. We want to be able to be in that last mile. And that's what NuTrax is all about. It solves for the last mile of what ERP traditionally does not do. So whether or not you have spreadsheets, manual processes, third-party applications, NuTrax can solve for that along with the NextBot platform. This slide is a busy slide, so I want to bring your attention to the fact the reason why we're talking about wineries today is because it's just one of the many areas that NuTrax is eventually going to solve for. In fact, what we're building today is agriculture-based, but it could be applied in other areas. It's track and trace technology that could be done in construction, engineering, medical, pharmaceuticals, you name it, right? Cereal, soda pop, crackers. I always, coffee, tea. This can be applied in a lot of places. We're going to concentrate in winery because it's just fun for one, but ultimately wineries is what we're talking about today. But if you are just doing general farming, that will apply when we look at this winery. In fact, we'll talk about a webinar later that is more generic than just agribusiness. How we bundle it, and the reason why we're talking about how we bundle it right up front here is because it is pre-built, meaning that we pre-built it with the test scripts, we pre-built it with the process models, data migration, the security roles. We bake in our customer support and our new view analytics and reporting, which allows the customer to go into it with a fully featured solution right out of the box. Now, with that said, you may have a ERP solution or a financials package that you're currently running today. So we've also enabled NuTrax to be done as a simple integration. So ultimately, let's say you're running Enterprise One or Zero or Microsoft Dynamics, you can purchase the NextBot and NuTrax as a package still, and we would simply integrate back to your the older ERP that you currently have. Now, as a phased approach, you could still go back to this model here over time, or stay here. We're going to give you the option. So pre-built integration to existing systems, or with a full-blown SaaS enterprise applications and scalable solutions. It does depend on the winery size. It depends on what your guys' needs are, and we want to be flexible. So ultimately, what we're trying to do is bundle that as one price to the customer on a monthly basis that includes support over the term so that you have what you need to be successful and that your business isn't having to deal with the IT department. So let's jump in actually, because everybody always asks this question. They say, is this thing real, right? Is this thing just vaporware? And we're here to show you exactly where we're going. So ultimately, NuTrax for Wine is coming out of our industry solutions because of the expertise we have on our staff. The beverage experience dates back quite a ways, and I get to brag on my group right now that's going to be on the phone talking here in a little bit, and also during the question and answer session if you guys have questions. But ultimately, our team is derived from beverage experience that goes back 25 years. And ultimately, we have a lot of experience over this, and we're bringing that experience to building the product. We've learned the mistakes that have been made in other ERP products or other beverage products and trying to fix those along the way and being nimble about that and having an agile development methodology. And you're going to hear about that from the team right now. So with that, I will hand over to Patrick.
Today, I have the privilege to share our story with everyone. This is the start of a new era in your industry's software services. The greatest part of this era is no-code. What this allows is the removal of traditional developers, and instead, utilizing this platform, we can maximize your staff members who have the business knowledge to build applications specifically for your business needs. NuVerge has started by creating our NuTrax product that has been built in this no-code platform called NextBot, built by NextWorld. I've worked on the business side of the wine industry for the past 15 years in some way or another. The one thing that I've always looked for is for all of my systems to be able to talk to one another. This includes equipment and websites directly. NuVerge is building that application. Our aim here today is to pique your interest, enough to ask, is it easy to develop in? Can this truly replace most, if not all, of my manual or disparate systems? How does this save me money on my IT expenditure? To do just that, here are a few screens I wanted to show you that will illustrate what we have been up to. Dashboard cards are screens that house multiple applications that would be relevant to your role. We will show you two of these today, our viticulture and winemaking screens. Now on the viticulture screen on the left hand side, you've got a block search. which is what we call common context filters. You can start by entering in a first letter, which will filter down what blocks you have. Once you've selected one, it will filter the rest of the applications on the screen to that specific block you've chosen. It will also show you a block detail and harvest list view. Inside the block detail, it will show you your attributes, your area information, logistical and field attributes. It will house the details that are used to store the location of it. You've got a weather app on the left hand side, which is an API link out to a weather site that can be updated daily, hourly, minutes, however you want. We've got that linked to a growing degree days or maturity date application that can be filtered both by Fahrenheit or Celsius if wanted. And at the end of all of this, we have a map, which we can change over to a satellite view, zoom in and out, and use it as Google Maps intended, and we can even use it to get directions. Moving on from here, we're going to switch over to the winemaking dashboard. And I just want to draw your attention on the right hand side where there's a little mini app here that shows all your open operations at the moment. We will start with a grower operation, and we're going to do a spray operation there. Once selected, you can enter in your operation description, select a block that you want to use, which will pull through the planted area for that block. Once you've done that, you can choose the treated area you want to use. Select the spray that you want to use, and based on the manufacturer's recommendations that you've entered in for that spray, the system will automatically calculate the amount needed to treat that treated area you've selected. I want to show that you can change that treated area, and it will automatically change the amount down at the bottom. And because that happens so quickly, I'm going to show you again. So we'll change that treated area again, and it adjusts. Next, I want to show you a blend operation. We're going to do a tank-to-tank movement. Once again, you record your description. You enter in your from and your to tanks. In our system, we can do one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, and many-to-many tank movements. And there are a multitude of different distribution methods. We are going to use move equally today. I'm going to choose a tank that's got 10,000 liters in it. And then the two tanks that we're going to select, I'm going to use both with volume inside just to show that it utilizes the current volume inside there for its calculation. The first one I'm going to select has 10,000 liters in it as well, and the second will have 50,000 liters. Once this has been completed, you enter in the volume that you want to change. We're putting in 7,500. It automatically updates the new volume for the from tank, and it does a split equally for the two tanks. We can adjust that volume, so I'm going to change this to 8,000 liters. Automatically updates the from and the two twos. This then is utilized in our movement table and can be used for reporting over dashboards, visualizations, and such forth. I now want to introduce Lumir Popovitsy, who comes from the winemaking side of the business. Lumir, over to you.
Thank you, Patrick. Hello, everyone. I'm a winemaker consultant with over 24 years of winemaking experience, which includes the implementation and daily use of 3 different winery management software solutions, all of which are still in use by major wine and beverage companies today. Whether it's a simple winemaking calculator or a more complex trial blending tool, building up functionality in the Nextboot platform takes only a fraction of time normally required to build it on other platforms, making development fast and exciting. Here is an example of a calculator for acid addition with acid to use selection, volume to treat, starting plus target titratable acidity concentrations, and multiple unit of measure selections for all the fields, including for the result. Such calculators are automated between our standard addition operation, as well as in other applications like NuTrax trial blend. Here is an example of the trial blend mini app base. You can select a destination vessel, a target blend, the blend volume that you would like to make, and then the blend components, whichever, if it's a couple or 4 or 5, no matter the number of the components. And finally, you can also select the desired component percentages individually for each of the components that you selected. Data results and informations are instantly available without multiple clicks and changing of the screens. Earlier this year, I was tasked to create in a week a placeholder dashcard for the trial blend. Even though I'm not a software developer and I had just completed the self-tutorial training on the Nextboot platform, I believe that creating a placeholder for this functionality, even for a short while, would not be good enough. As such, I took it upon myself, and with the help of my teammate, Lucan Burnett, I developed most of the trial blend application within that week time frame. This was possible due to the simplicity of the no-code. As winemakers, our time is limited, and our attention to detail it's required in many attentions or directions, covering everything from cellar activities, quality aspects, safety, business processes, wine uses, demands, costs, etc., etc. The winery software solution needs to be tailored to the end user needs. It has to be complete, it has to be fast, it has to be mobile, but also has to be future-proof. All of which and much more we get with the NuTrax no-code solution. Jeff, on to you.
The webinar slides here, guys. So thanks, Lubomir. I think Lubomir's anecdotal thing there about building the trial blend is a great example of how we're actually ahead of schedule. If you guys look at our roadmap here right now, the trial blend, I had intended for that to be built out in early 2021. And as Lubomir mentioned, he took it upon himself to go ahead and build that instead of just mocking it up. And I think that the reason why we bring it up as an example is because it shows how much faster we are going to be able to get to market, not only with the product, but also because the Nextbot platform is part of NuTrax and enables our customers to be more nimble. And I think the proof is in the pudding, right? The idea that this can be done rapidly is not just a marketing thing. It's not just, oh, it's 20 times faster, right? The reality is we are doing it 20 times faster than before. Trial blend was a very big item in other products, and what Lubomir was able to accomplish so quickly is it really got me excited. In fact, when I came to the meeting, I was like, "You did what?" So this is something that's real, and we're seeing on a weekly basis features that are being added very quickly, QR codes and other items that we would have taken months before to develop or even release, and now we're able to do that very rapidly. With that said, you can see that our roadmap contains a lot of different things. In fact, we're already talking about pulling some of these things forward. And as we put up at the very front of this is that this is a changing area. But for instance, blockchain, I'm going to talk about a little bit of that later. We have forecasting and planning now coming into these releases. We're actually likely going to be pulling some of that forward. So the idea is that we want customers to be able to be ready to start implementing in early 2021. So that you can go with a harvest ready release. That's the idea here. So with that, I'll go on to the next slide and we can talk through some of the specific things that the technology layer enables us to do. So disconnected capabilities. Ultimately, the platform itself is actually stateless. And what that means, without getting too technical, is ultimately that your transactions are saved in the device that you're actually using, not just on the server. So the traditional way of doing transactions would be that you would save the transaction and the database would have to commit that. And then if that doesn't commit in time, you might lose that transaction. With the stateless design, let's say you have a poor connection and you're using the mobile app built out of Nextbot itself, that transaction is actually saved on your device. So if you reconnect, that then would be a pending transaction that would then sync back. Now, with that said, there's always exceptions to that where you just have really, really poor connectivity or even power outages that occur. So how do we solve for that? So we have passive and active disconnected capabilities, and we have some native capabilities I just mentioned earlier around QR codes, the ability to walk through your cellar as a winemaker and be able to scan those things and bring the application that you need right to your fingertips, the tank information, things like that. But also all the way out to the consumer, right? QR codes to the consumer. We'll talk about that in a bit too. So there's a lot of capabilities that we're enabling here, but ultimately that stateless design is unique in the ERP space in particular, and we get to take advantage of it just with NuTrax because it's built into the Nextbot platform. Integration platform is included. Now, again, I don't pretend that we're going to replace the Dell Boomies of the world or the SnapLogics or anything like that. That's not the intent here. However, you may not need to put everything through those integration platforms if you have true point-to-point capabilities. This slide is meant to show you an example of all the external systems you might need to connect to. Now, obviously, you might only connect to one of those e-commerce solutions, but there's some of those that we're going to be pre-configured for. Industry and regulatory items like Avalara, OpenWeather, AccuWeather is where we're pulling our data from. Maybe you have another one that we need to add to that list. We're happy to do that. But also just general sensors and PLC devices that are out there in the marketplace, especially for wineries, from Paul to Tank.net. All of these are pre-configured, and we can talk to them through that REST-based API later and point-to-point through Nextbot. Lastly, a lot of people talk about blockchain, very few actually implement it. And while we have this as planned, and you'll see that in the far right-hand corner of the screen for a reason, we have some big plans to make sure that we are part of the blockchain. What that means is we actually have to be part of a distributed ledger, right? We're not going to necessarily be the only piece of that. You might have suppliers that are providing information that need to be part of that ledger as well. But our plan is to actually provide as much of that blockchain technology as possible, all the way back to, and this is where I love it when Patrick tells the story about this a lot of times, is I want to be able to tell a consumer about the water that irrigated the grapes that made it into that wine bottle. And that's the idea. The other thing that blockchain enables us to do, especially in the wine space, as we've been researching this, is, fraudulent wine is rampant actually out there. There's a lot of things that are happening in the wine space and the beverage space in general, where you have products that are actually not what they intended. They're selling them as fake products out there. So blockchain does enable us to solve for some of those problems too. But ultimately, blockchain is where we feel we do need to go, and we need to solve for it properly. So just know that is on our roadmap, and we're likely to pull that forward into 2021. It is currently on the 2022 roadmap. So to kind of finalize some of this up, I want to go back to those initial questions that we talked about at the beginning. How do I future-proof? Ultimately, the no-code platform, Nextbot, enables not only you to take on the NuTrax product that we built, but also enables you as business analysts and wine experts to tailor your solution. I think Lubomir said it really well earlier in regards to how he was able to make changes very quickly. Well, you can also do that on your own as a customer now, right? Or you can enable us to help make those changes into base product. But the point is you have the ability to tailor your solution going forward. So if you have a differentiator, right, was what we talked about, why not tailor that solution? And now that customization is a sustainable customization. You'll be able to test it faster, you'll be able to maintain it better, and it won't become a burden to your company. How do I make sure I can do business when the connection is poor? We talked about that. Mobile enabled, providing disconnected syncing of data, the stateless platform that you get with Nextbot. There's another big differentiator here that I think is going to continue to be underappreciated, in the fact that most solutions out there in the wine space in particular, or even in the beverage space or food and beverage, they're very specific, meaning they're very unique and niche. They rarely come with an entire ERP that sits behind it. And even if they do have an ERP, you usually have to purchase the ERP alongside it. You can purchase NuTrax by itself or with all of the ERP components that are required for your business. We enable both, but we get the stateless platform regardless, and that is unique. How do I minimize my software and integration costs? The Nextbot platform is included, ultimately enables our customers to build their own apps. So let's say you need to do something outside of the specific wine solution. You have an Excel spreadsheet that has got macros, and you're having to maintain it, and you've got a guy in the corner trying to really make sure that, and if he's not available, what do you do? Well, why not build that in the Nextbot platform? So with your purchase, you would also get the platform itself to build your own mini apps. Now we could build those for you, or you could actually enable yourself to build those. The point is it's now enabled, and you can minimize your software costs. You can even eliminate integrations over time. You may include integrations initially because it's a phased approach, and then eventually eliminate those integrations by going point to point, not having to go through a middleman. So lastly, our next steps, we're right about the right timing here, guys. So I wanted to, there is a link when you guys get the PDF version of this, you'll get a link there, but ultimately go to nuverge.com and you'll see our website there, and you can actually go to the contact us and schedule a full demo of the NuTrax product with us, a personalized demo is the way I should say it. And we'll take you through everything that we're doing. Also, I wanted to call out the fact that we were talking about how the NextSpot platform enables you to build mini apps. There's examples of this that I'm sure you look at your entire portfolio of different apps that you build, all the Excel spreadsheets in your company or manual processes. Our NuVerge promise, ultimately 8 weeks to a solution. It might be 4 weeks, might be 12 weeks, but the point is 8 weeks to a solution. We want to have a starting point where we can work with you to solve, let's say it's a $1 million problem that you have that you wish you could solve, and you don't want to have to build it in aging technology. You want to build it in the latest. Let's keep it simple. Call us and we can set up a discussion around what NextSpot can automate for you. And that's outside of the wine solution itself. We also have some the already recorded NuVerge intro webinar. Please go view that if you want. It's about, I think about 55 minutes long or so. And that discusses more details around NextSpot. And we do have 2 more, we'll have many more than this, but we'll have 2 more that are already scheduled on our website, one around our subprime area, and then also NuTrax for agriculture is coming up. Now, the agriculture one's important for those that are attending this one today. We're going to dive deeper into the grower specific items, right, that are more specific to the farming and growing contracts and other items in that particular webinar. So if you're a winery or if you're just in agriculture in general, that's still going to benefit you. So if you want to come back and see us again, we'll have more details at that time. So with that, back to Bill.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Appreciate the time. We do have some time for questions, and I do have a couple of questions that have been submitted. So let me start with this first one. My guess is, Lubomir, this one's going to be for you, but the question is, does NuTrax, and you hopefully understand this better than I do, but does NuTrax have the ability to save and edit scenarios in previously created trial blend? I'm not sure if you understand that, but that's the question. Lubomir?
Bill, I might just jump in there if you don't mind. So the answer is yes.
Okay.
So what it does do is it will create a draft operation for that, and you'll be able to go and edit it as needed.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm not sure if you can hear me now.
Yes.
I can just confirm everything Patrick said. Thank you, Patrick.
Patrick, you might want to stay online here. I think this next one's for you. Can I integrate other data to NuTrax? So I think they're kind of maybe looking for a little more detail on the integration technology that NextWorld has and our software.
Yeah, great question. So once again, answer is yes. Anything that is networked, has an open API platform, we can talk to, pull from, use that data in many different ways. We can integrate it directly into our applications or any sort of visualization or report that we need to be able to do.
Two more questions here. I'm trying to figure out how to rephrase this one. Jeff, maybe you can take this one. And I think it's a small winery, and so they're curious: is there a size limitation on the winery that our NuTrax software would fit to, or are they going to be too small?
No, I'd say the answer is let's schedule a discussion. But ultimately, the size of the winery shouldn't matter. You may not be wanting to take on the full pyramid, as we talked about earlier. Initially, you might have QuickBooks or Xero as your financials package, but NuTrax can go down into smaller wineries very easily. So the functionality there would definitely apply to the smaller wineries. And so let's just let's schedule a demo and talk.
Okay, thanks for that one. And Jeff, I think this last one's for you too. You were the one that covered the slide, but obviously somebody liked the wine track and trace functionality that on that one of the last slides that you had. So what's the time frame? It said pending or at least coming, but what's the time frame for that functionality on our roadmap?
Absolutely, yeah. We do have it scheduled more towards the 2022 timeframe because we do have to concentrate on core product. But we're actually, as a team, we just had some discussions over the last couple of weeks that we want to pull that forward into 2021. So we expect that to be released during the 2021 cycle, and we'll shoot for before harvest. But yeah, if you guys are very interested in that particular functionality, let's talk. And again, let's schedule a discussion around that.
Okay, I think that's all the questions. No additional ones have come up. So Jeff, is there anything else you need to cover before I close the webinar?
No, I wanted to revisit that the NuVerge promise one more time, and the reason why I wanted to bring that one up is that even if the NuTrax product itself, while we're investigating that with whoever's interested, the NuVerge promise is an easier way to dip your toe in the water, and we enable that. And I just wanted we ourselves, NuVerge, are developing mini apps for our own usage, and that's kind of a sign that we're dealing with a platform where we can develop small things for time entry or simple CRM. There's lots of different ways to go solve for what we're doing manually today, even as NuVerge. So as a company, think outside the box and think, what could I do with the NextBot technology? And if you go listen to that webinar, you'll get an idea, and let's show you what NextBot's really capable of.
Okay, great. Thanks for bringing that up. And for everybody who joined the webinar, thanks for joining. We certainly appreciate the time for you being here. And I know it was late in the day for some of you, maybe early for some of you on the other side of the world. But again, thanks for joining. This video will be a recording on our website, and we will go ahead and push out a PDF of the slides to everybody. So again, thanks for joining and have a great evening. Good night.